Welcome. In this video, I'm going to be taking you through a full gameplay of Rute the Spirit Dish. Along the way, I'm going to be showing very different elements that get put into this game. This variety includes from things such as animation and coding and environment, all the way to things such as sound and story, everything that gets together to make up Rute the Spirit Dish. So let's begin first with the story of the game. The ever-providing guardian protects the woodland village, a quaint community nestled deeply into the woods. The villagers praise this deity and revere it. However, the guardian only has the power to protect when a special offering is made. Once every 15 years, a single spirit melon ripens and becomes ready to harvest for a very important purpose. To be crafted into a dish that is able to satiate the guardian's hunger for another 15 years. Rute, a young villager, has been chosen to undertake this sacred journey and must bring the spirit melon back to the chef's kitchen no matter the challenges. Rotting villagers banished by the guardian will seek to sabotage his mission at any cost. With the guardian in his heart, the chosen villager will provide the village with safety by being granted with the honor to bestow the spirit dish to the great forest deity. With the guardian's satisfaction, the forest will prosper for another 15 years. Life will carry on. Or so the story has been told. So here we start. We are the character of Rute. If you remember back in the story, Rute is the one who is destined to take this melon that we have picked up in this cave and bring it back to the chef at the village where he's from. So let's start our journey. Throughout the game, you will see these text boxes that have sort of like an inner dialogue going on for Rute, and it's sort of to look at what's going on in Rute's mind, and also serves as player guidance to give tips to the players on what they should be doing or what they could be doing to guide them forward if they're ever stuck. How these boxes work is just having a widget with text that sort of has a typewriter effect by having a string of dialogue that gets inputted, then displayed through an index that slowly increases. In this case, we use a time of 0.05 to go and display each letter one by one until the whole text is shown, and then disappear after a set amount of time, which depends on which text we're showing. So now that we have the melon, we're gonna head off to the village. But first, to get to the village, we're gonna have to head through the forest. We are now in the forest, and it is our job to take this melon back to the village. So let's go ahead and start. So when making the levels in this game, the forest and later on the village and the temple, all of that, our main idea was we wanted to have a space that was open, a place that the player could feel has more to it, that it's not just what you're seeing here. That's why we made a lot of different paths, that although you're going from point A to point B in each level, you have the choice to take a path to the left that maybe doesn't take you to another ending of sorts, but it takes you to this waterfall and you can just observe. We have those little things that lets you think that it's a bigger world than what you're just saying. And we also knew that it was heavy to have player immersion, right? So everything feels alive. So trees moving, clouds in the sky, you can go to the grass and it pushes down as you walk through it, right? Very subtle, but it's there. Because, you know, butterflies in the sky, all that. Because we believe that it's those small things that eventually gather up to really make an enjoyable experience visually, right? So again, here we have different paths, and as the text says, which way I wonder, right? You can never go wrong with right. This is again the player guidance that I mentioned earlier. The player is free to go ahead and walk on the left path, right? But in this case, we're gonna follow the player guidance that was given in the text, and we're gonna go right. Now that we're on the right, we have this puzzle right in front of us. So let's go ahead and solve it. So as you can see here, we need to get this box, this special box from here all the way to what looks like a pressure plate over here. So let's get to it. So when making puzzles like these, what we used was we made these boxes that are pushed using first to get to the box, right? Once the player touches it, they get attached to it, so there's no possible way of like getting away from it per se. And then how the box moves is that it moves a certain amount of units that is predetermined, and when the box is being moved, it basically checks with a cube collision, right, a certain amount of distance forward to see if there's anything that it will crash against. Because if it will crash against something, then it won't move forward, and the character won't be able to push the box forward. And that's essentially how this puzzle works. And eventually we will get to put the, you know, box against the pressure plate over there. What happens with the pressure plate over there? Once the pressure plate is collided with this specific statue over here, then we'll see later, but a door will open that will allow us to continue to the next path. And again, the door opens using a timeline that, again, predetermined time. It moves a certain distance. It doesn't move, rotates a certain distance so that the door may open without having to necessarily create our own specific animations for the door, because that is something that if we can save ourselves time with the door, then we can actually use that time to improve our other animations that are in the game, such as Rute himself or villagers or all of that. So we gotta hear a little tingle that happens when we finish this puzzle, and the door opens slightly for us to walk in. So let's go ahead and walk through there. Now, the player had the choice to go right or left, and in this chance we chose right, so we got to the puzzle first. But there is absolutely the chance that the player may have gone left instead of right, which would mean that they would have come upon a closed door and had to further investigate to see how they may get through to the next zone. In this zone that we're about to go through, there's gonna be enemies that we do not want to be hit against, because if those enemies were to hit us, it would result in a death screen that would either ask you to restart the level or quit the game. So we are gonna avoid them, and the way that we avoid them is they have sight, right? They're moving around with a behavioral tree They give some random locations to go to, and we're gonna have to either walk behind them or go into the bushes so that we are less visible. That way we don't get caught. So first we're gonna wait for this enemy to turn their backs on us so they can perhaps slip past him. So we walk into the zone, and on the bottom right you're gonna see that there is a closed eye, right? This eye represents that we are in a zone where enemies are located. The music also changes, and if the eye that has the enemy charges up, then we start getting chased, right? The enemy is slightly faster than us, so that they will have a chance to attack us, but we will run right past them and get to the door. Also, when we leave the enemy zone, we are no longer being chased by the enemies. So let's go right ahead to the next zone. Here, just Rute having a little singing moment. And we're gonna get to this next puzzle, right? Again, we are walking right to the puzzle directly, but there is a chance that the player would have walked left first and see that there is a door that they just cannot go through. So let's just walk over here and see, you know, the next zone has to go ahead, right? But we just can't go through it, so then we have to find a way to open it, and that's what we're gonna do with the puzzle. I wonder if those symbols with dots lying around have anything to do with it. So what does that mean? The player can now investigate and look at their surroundings. Each tablet has a specific tablet. Each torch has a specific tablet. But more than that, there are tablets just lying around on the floor. And the only difference between those and the ones that are in the tablets is that they have a dot, right? So this little puzzle, I'm going to give you the answer right away, right? The dots explain the order that the torches must be interacted with. So hitting E, we're going to interact with the torch, and it's going to check every time that you click on a torch. It's going to check a value that is changing, and each torch needs to have that specific value to be turned on. And if that value does not match, then that torch and all the previous torches will just turn off, and you will have to redo the puzzle. So let's see, right? So here we interact with this triangle, triangle, 1, 1, and then we check where's number 2. So this one has 2 dots, so that tells us that this one in the middle is the next one. Now I want to show you well, you know, this one, this symbol here, if you look around, 3 dots, this is the 3rd one. But what if we weren't to figure that out and we accidentally clicked the wrong one? The torches would just turn off, and then we would have to start back from square one, which would be 1, 2, we saw that this was 3, here 4 dots, we know that this is 4, and finally this is 5. Process of elimination. So a timeline will occur, camera blend will happen first, then a timeline will happen to rotate the door, player camera blend back to the player, and we can go ahead and continue on with our journey. This next zone over here will also have enemies. It's a second zone in the game that will have enemies. So we can hide not only in grass, but we can also hide behind trees, right? So anything that the player finds that they can hide behind, it will be useful. Unlike the other zone, this puzzle is a little bit more inside this enemy zone is a little bit bigger, so that essentially we want the player to play around with how they may get through this puzzle inside this enemy zone. See if we can get to this tree before he sees us. So all the enemies have costume animations. So they're idols, they're walking. See if we can sit down here for a second and see their animations. You see the little guy up there is walking. This bigger guy is also walking. And then their little animations, they have a little twitch to them, so that they may feel sort of like a monster vibe to them, that, you know, this is not something that you want to get close to, right? So this guy's getting a little close, so that's going to be a little bit dangerous, but I think that as long as we're here, we're going to be fine. We just need him to walk away. Perfect. And then we're going to walk right behind him. Oh, he saw us. Oh, and now we're being chased. So he does a little attack, and we're going to have to keep going. We lost sight of him. Oh, but he saw us. So, as you can see, I am not the greatest player at hiding, but you get the idea. So Rute has a little interaction with the enemies, sort of commentates on what's going on around him, saying that he hates those things, those enemies. And we have this little waterfall over here that we can look at, and we're gonna keep going. Just beyond this bridge, we're gonna be able to get to the village, so we can hand over this melon that we have in our backpack over to the chef. So now we're in the village with the melon, and it's time to find the chef and give him the melon. So let's go ahead and explore. I managed to make it home before it got too dark. Looks like everyone decorated for the festival. What does this mean, right? Again, our game is very lore heavy, right? So we want to build this world for the player to explore and see, right? And this level, it's not about puzzles, it's not about you know, hiding from enemies. It's specifically to continue the story that was built upon in the cave earlier, and with the slides that were shown. So while they went all out for me, I knew I shouldn't have been so nervous to be chosen. It looks like everything will work out just fine. Again, we're giving this character feelings. We're giving him his own thoughts. You know, this experience that he's going through. It's about him getting to complete this objective that was given upon him. And if you walk to some people, for example, this guy, this guard, he will have a little textbook up there that you can means that you can go up to him, click E, and you will have a conversation. So this person's called Bark. Look at this cool little sprig. I was destined to be a dancer, not a guard, right? So played around with the names. So it's like a tree, bark, and just give the people in this village personality too. Again, everything has custom animations, so everything, nothing's taken from anywhere. We really wanted to give this village its own vibe per se, this own celebration. Next up would be the dialogue trees, right? What do you mean by dialogue trees? Each conversation is held through a behavioral tree that goes down, changing text for the dialogues, right? So we have a widget that has a text. It's very similar to what was used earlier for the tips and the inner dialogue of Rute, right? It has names, and it has index. Is that not index? It has a text box that we put input text that we can change with every note, that it replaces the earlier text, and we can have a conversation back and forth like that, using a brain AI that initiates a conversation and then ends it at the very end. We can also, in those behavioral trees, we can tie in animations so that they happen one after the other. We can have fade-ins and outs, so it's a lot of freedom, and we definitely were able to expand upon this the system, right? So now that we have this melon and we explore the village a little bit, let's go ahead and find the chef. So as we get close, fade to black, and the conversation begins. We cycle through cameras here, again creating an index for those cameras and just switching through them with camera blends. So now that we have the spirit dish in the form of a takeout, because we're going to be bringing it to the garden, we can now continue our journey. Again, this level was to expand the story, a beginning, a middle, and an end, and we're currently in the middle, ready to head onwards in our journey. So we can come back here and talk to this guardian. It says, "Hi little spirit, are you ready to go to the temple?" And we say yes. Great, so here we are in the ruins section of the game. Here we wanna find a way to reach the garden. So let's head to this next section, which is the enemies. Another enemy section, much like the ones in the forest. We want him to look away, perfect, so that we can go over here and hide in this. Let's wait for the tall one to sort of look away for a second. Let's see if we can slip past him here. No, we were too slow. So now he's chasing us and we need to sort of run past him. See if he's lost sight of us. No, he has not. Here is an example of a game over. I was not able to escape the tall guy because I failed to hide correctly. So continue, we'll reset the level and we're gonna be able to try again. That guy's looking away, so Let's take the chance to just get in this bush. Perfect. And now we need the little guy to look away. I think this is a perfect opportunity to just slip past both of them. He's gonna see us in the distance, but that doesn't matter because we are too far away from him for him to catch us, right? Took a little statues here, props that were made. And now we've got a little box puzzle here, much like the one in the forest. So let's get to it. We see a familiar structure, and let's get to pushing in. This is a level much for the player to play around with for a long while. So we might cut this for a little bit, just so you don't see me doing this for a whole 10 minutes or something. So unlike the other puzzle where you push the box, it gets your pressure plate and the door opens, this puzzle will allow you to get to the second part of the puzzle by lowering this box down, and now you can go ahead and advance to the next puzzle. So let's keep working on this. So unlike the other two box pushing puzzles, this one has a little bit of a trick to it, because you actually want to go backwards to go forwards, if that makes any sense. You want to make sure that these smaller boxes actually get back to the starting zone, so that the main box can actually move forward, right? So it's about ignoring the main box for a little bit, so you can make the way for the big one to go through. This next puzzle is a little bit different than what we've been getting used to doing. So we have to actually get on top, and when you step on a white square, it turns blue, right? So that's the goal of this puzzle, turning all the squares from white to blue. And you have these little spaces that you can rest on, so that you don't have to backtrack so much. Since again, this game is very lore heavy, not every puzzle is extremely difficult. So the little jingle indicated what we knew before. This door is now open and we can walk through it. So let's go straight to the next puzzle. This puzzle is a box puzzle, but it has a little bit of a trick to it, because as you can see, there is blocks that are covering the path that we can't actually push this box through. So let's move these boxes out of the way. And much like we use the timeline for the doors to open when a puzzle is finished, this one actually has a timeline for these boxes to move down, right? And then we can go ahead and push. So with the orange that we put away, we've made a path for us to continue. Next is the purple whitish color. So get these two blocks, both are in place, and the blocks move down. So now let's push forward. there, and we have finally cleared the path for us to push this statue all the way down. So the environment, let's talk about that a little bit. This environment is very much like the forest in sort of like the nature of it, but we added props that indicate that it's a ruins, right? That there was a structure here before that got sort of like broken down into what it is now. So you can see, you know, stone tablets, you can see stairs, you can see these metal doors. They all indicate this sort of like ancient structures that were here once, but they're not here anymore. So those puzzles that we just did are actually pretty long. So not super long, but they take some time to do. So we got a little joke down there that was like, oh, I hope there's not more, but there's just one more, and it's very short. So going with the theme of fruits, right, that need to be handed over. We got these two statues with different sized plates, and we got these two fruits with different sizes, right? So a little spoiler, the fruit actually indicates the which plate it needs to go to, right? So we got this stone pumpkin that fits perfectly here, but it might be a little bit too big for this plate over here. So if we try to interact with this, it will tell us, I don't think it'll fit here, right? So this puzzle is mainly using booleans, right? And changing a value for which fruit is right. And once that value is changed, once the value reaches 2, then the door that is blocking our way will open, right? So now we can give this fruit over here. And we got this little fruit over here. Pick it up. And we hand it over here. Something that I forgot to mention for the puzzle earlier, with the one that changes colors, is that for that one we use what's called a flip-flop to switch the textures around, and whenever the character overlaps with them, right? And whenever the color changes, a value is also changed in the game instance, right? So if there's 42 blocks, then the value needs to reach 42, but if a block is turned white, then the number will be subtracted, right? So we got a little scary music here because we are in a bad guy zone. So we want to have this tall guy sort of like turn around. Oh, but luck is not in our, luck is not with us today. And let's sort of like sneak behind. Oh, we don't want to go through there. The other guy is also there. So we need to find a specific time. So he's walking away. That guy is looking at us. We could hide behind the tree, but I don't think I want to risk it. Just because I lost earlier. Yeah. Okay, they're both turning around. Let's see if we can. Oh, they're all here. See if we can sneak past them a little bit. We hide behind this rock quick enough. Yeah, perfect. So now we can head over to the exit. And this is where we're gonna finally be able to reach the Guardian's Temple. Let's go ahead and walk through the door. Looking around, a beautiful environment here, sort of to emphasize the grand room that is for the garden itself. Everything's big, everything is, sort of like bigger than life, you know, just like a room for a protector, a guardian to be in, and that's what we were going for the environment. So now we're actually gonna go ahead and give the spirit dish to the guardian so that we can put an end to our journey. That is Rute, the spirit dish. The story, the gameplay, UI elements, sound, everything put together in a beautiful story from beginning to end to explain this journey of a hero who had this melon and a goal to make his village prosper, to keep on with the guardian's protection, even though in reality he was not going to make it back. For that melon was just an excuse for the guardian to actually get what he really needed, which was his soul, to feed upon it, to protect the village. There is a lot of lore in this game, and there's things that I have not told you in case you want to go back and figure them out yourself. For example, the enemies have a special reasoning as to why they're trying so you don't reach the guardian, or why the chef cooks this meal but then looks sad, because he probably knows that the dish is not the solution, yet he's the one that urges you to go and hand it over to the guardian. So yeah, a lot of lore, a lot of things to digest, and thanks for looking over our game. Thank you and have a nice day.